The art of receiving, the topic of today's Soul Sovereignty and Sexuality podcast with myself, Jessica Falcon, International Soul Embodiment Guide and Divine Feminine Activator. Before we go into how to expand your capacity to receive love, to receive abundance, to receive your desires, I want to start talking about why we struggle to receive, what the typical experience is, because what I often hear, and I know for myself, I really felt like I would give so much more than I would receive. And it became this very frustrating experience that I kept seeing repeat itself in my life over and over and over again. And it didn't really matter what relationship I was in. Almost always, I felt like I was the one giving more and not receiving what I gave, meaning I would be thoughtful and I would want to give, but I didn't feel like the other person returned that I found myself always giving more or having to ask them versus them just thinking about it or being thoughtful in that way. It also showed up in that I would hold space and give them attention and hear them and listen and ask questions and be engaged in what they shared. But when it came time for me to talk, they would suddenly be busy or distracted or not really hear what I was saying or ask questions. And so we'd spend, let's say an hour talking about them. And then after 5 or 10 minutes of talking about me, subject was changed and that was it. It can also show up when you feel like you're just not receiving the love that you desire to receive from an intimate partner or in a friendship with family, that you see people, but you don't feel seen. Very common from women in particular, because there's a cultural dictate, a belief system that we're having to unravel ourselves from and change and shift, both men and women, that for millennia, women were not seen in relationship for who they are. And so a lot of women are going, wait a minute, I'm not okay with this. The invisibility of women has its roots in the ownership of women and women as property of men. So men didn't see women as souls for who they are. Women were seen for what they did. So this can show up, whether you're a man or a woman, because this can definitely happen to men too, when you feel like you were only seen when you're, quote, doing things, right? Or producing things, fixing things, whatever that may be, is that you feel like you're doing a lot for others, but you don't feel seen for who you are on the inside. Almost like there's a facade, or like people don't get you. They don't understand you. These kinds of internal feelings. They think they know you, but you know that they really don't. Now, when you get to the point where, if you're listening to this episode, for example, you're wanting to expand your capacity to receive, you're saying, enough of that. I'm not okay tolerating this anymore. I'm not okay with it always being about the other person. I'm not okay with them being the one to talk and me not having airspace. Or I'm not okay with feeling like there's no one who really gets me or knows me intimately. Or I'm not okay with giving more than I receive. I'm not okay with self-sacrifice. I'm not okay with self-denial. I'm not okay with silencing my truth anymore. When you get to that point, I want to say, hooray, celebrate that, because that right there is huge. It is something within you, I would say your soul, going, no, we are ready to transform this old pattern. We are ready to shift out of this karmic past life wound. We are ready to shift out of old ways of being and identifying. We are ready to shift out of patterns that deny yourself consciously or unconsciously and put others above you. So, hooray, if you're listening. And this can be very unique for each person. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't. That's why I enjoy working one-on-one with people so much, because we can go into their very unique soul blueprint, their very unique soul karma, their very unique belief system, particularly on the subconscious level, and work with that energetically and emotionally and mentally to create a transformation. So know that this is unique, and all of this may or may not apply to you, but keep an open heart mind, because some of this is deeply subconscious. A lot of this is deeply subconscious. And so it may not make mental sense, but there's a resonance in your field of like, oh yeah, do that. I'm going to focus on a couple key points, not all of the ways in which we can block ourselves from receiving, because that's way more time than we have for in this episode. One of the key wounds that stops us from receiving is not having boundaries. I encourage you to go back to the embodied boundaries episode, because boundaries are you honoring you and you saying, I have a right to be here. I have a right to take up space. And I'm not going to tolerate any person or situation that doesn't honor that space that is mine, who doesn't hear me and honor me and see me. And I will use my voice and honor my choice to only tolerate relationships in which I am seen. So the work required to create those boundaries on an embodied level is key to your capacity to receive. Which goes to the second key, which is you knowing you are worthy of that. Often, deep-seated feelings of unworthiness, conscious or unconscious, can block you from receiving. Because what's happening is that energetically and emotionally, you are constantly placing others above you, deeming them more worthy than you, and therefore, you don't allow them to give it to you when they want to. You block receiving when it's available. For example, when somebody gives you a compliment, you don't read it in and let it settle into your system. You automatically compliment them back, or you say something to avoid the discomfort, or you compliment them so the focus is back on them. That right there shows a block to receiving. It can be somebody wants to buy you dinner and you're like, no, please don't. No. Now, there are some situations in which it's absolutely okay to let another person know that they don't have to, particularly if you feel like there's a sense of obligation. But when you can feel that that person genuinely wants to do that out of love, and you're trusting your discernment, but you still don't allow it, I would highly recommend practicing being in the discomfort of another person giving you more than you even think you're worthy of. Even if you don't actually know that you're worthy yet, practice in the receiving by letting yourself be uncomfortable and take it anyway with gratitude. The more you're in a state of gratitude for what you do have and truly receive that into your heart, into your system, the more you're going to increase your capacity to receive. Because if you were in an energetic state of, oh, I don't receive, I give more, for example, whether it be in relationships, work, otherwise, then your system is set up to believe that you were not receiving. It's in a quote deficit, right? Your energy is actually exuding that even to others unconsciously. And so one of the ways that you can start to energetically shift that is to be in and vibrate a frequency of having through gratitude, which can, with consistency and devotion, literally shift the energetic miasma in your field that says, I don't have and I don't receive, to I have and I receive. And then you use that same gratitude when another wants to give to you, even in small ways or big ways. And that gratitude can be as simple as before you sit down to eat breakfast in the morning, you just, thank you for this new day. Thank you for this food before me. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my radiance. Thank you for my life. Thank you to each element. Thank you for my home. Thank you for this time. Thank you for my body. Thank you, right? Just that gratitude for me, it's a key part of my daily practice because it just feels good to start my day with honoring all that's around me, taking in and receiving the sunlight, taking in and receiving the rain if it's raining, taking in and receiving the nourishment that you're putting into your body. So the more you focus on the ways that you are receiving life, that is definitely going to increase your capacity to receive. And the third key to expanding your capacity to receive is you receive you. Yep. You receive all of you. That could be a mantra. I receive all of me. You receive your truth. You receive your boundary. You receive your voice and you express it. You receive your feelings. You receive your needs. You receive your desires. You receive your feelings. You receive your emotions. You receive your inner experience. You don't look to others to get it, to validate it, to approve it, to make it okay. No. You do that for you. Because here's the thing about a feeling of invisibility. It can be real. Believe me, I've experienced a lot of that in my life, many different situations. It ends when you deeply see you and begin to live from the inside out. Sovereignty. Because you are so deeply connected with yourself that your energy demands that you be seen. And when you're not, you walk away. You don't tolerate it, the boundary. When I hear from, I've worked with so many clients who initially came to me because they felt invisible in their relationships, or they had a hard time showing up and being seen because they didn't feel safe to be seen, right? A lot of these ways in which we fear being all of ourselves and that we're not worthy of taking up that space. I can't tell you how many, and myself included, keep looking to the other person, waiting for them to give, waiting for them to see, waiting for them to hear. And all of that is going to keep you in a pretty vicious cycle of waiting for other people, never getting out of it and actually expanding your capacity to receive the love that you deserve. Even if you don't yet know that you deserve it, that's the work I can help you with to create that embodied knowing of your worth when you start receiving you, you're able to cultivate the capacity to do that no matter what another person's capacity is. And there's a certain level of recognition that you demand from others through your beingness that can translate into being recognized and seen more. And it also releases the false armoring around heart, which is usually very subconscious, that can energetically block out others from giving to you. Because the more you drop into your worth, the more you drop into your truth, the more you drop into your boundaries, your inner experience, the more your heart opens and the more you let love in, because you are so full of that love for you. And you have energetically created an opening for that love to enter into versus unconsciously guarding and keeping it out. And receiving becomes just like breathing air. There's no more energetic or emotional or mental resistance. It's just like receiving your breath. Just practice that for a minute, inhaling and really allowing your breath to fill every part of you, receiving that breath into the depths of you, not just a shallow, but like a breathing down into your energetic womb, breathing down into your sacrum, breathing down into your feet, bringing the breath, receiving that breath with ease. And you can make that a 20-second practice. You can make that a 20-minute practice of consciously receiving your breath. And then noticing the ways in which you are saying no to or tolerating situations in which you're not receiving. And start to look at those beliefs, start to look at the emotions, start to look at the patterns, because you get to heal this on a soul level. And you get to receive love and abundance and your desires with ease, with grace, with gratitude. When you do the inner work to allow that, when you do the inner work to open your heart to yourself, when you do the inner work to embody your value and your worth and your boundaries. We are going to be doing a lot of this in the 7-month initiation into divine feminine power, which begins on Friday, September 27th. So if you're listening to this before then, send me a direct message or go to the website, thepathtosovereignty.com, to sign up. And you are also welcome to schedule a free 30-minute sovereignty breakthrough session with me if you're interested in doing this deep inner work, reclamation, transformation together to unleash your sovereign power, to expand your capacity to receive. Sending you lots of love, and I'll see you next week.